If you don't like boring news but still crave the truth, then dive into The Robert and Crew Show. From mind-bending conspiracy theories to wild weather phenomena, we've got it all. Ever wondered what's really happening in your hometown, or what secrets the global news isn't telling you? We dig deep into the core of every story, unraveling the mysteries one podcast at a time. Join Robert and the crew as we navigate this vibrant, ever-changing cyberpunk landscape, bringing you interviews with the most intriguing minds out there. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, a news junkie or a weather enthusiast, there's something here for you. So strap in, listeners, because we're about to take you on a ride through the neon-lit alleys of truth and intrigue. This is the Robert and Crew Show, where the future meets the fantastic.
Welcome back to the Robert and Crew Show. As always, I'm your host, Robert.
And the co-host crew.
And tonight, crew, we're talking about none other than Tartaria. And for those who are new to the podcast or are going to watch this podcast for the first time later on, explain to them what Tartaria is.
It is a civilization that was once upon a time around that, due to the fact that they were so advanced, they got wiped by a mud flood to start up a reset to where they never existed.
And during that time that the mud flood happened, they call that the Great Reset. And hey, Julie, how are you?
Hello, Julie.
And
Yeah.
so basically, with Tartaria, there was supposedly a mud flood that covered basically the entirety of North America and some of Europe and basically Mexico and some other places too. And the mud covered ancient buildings, basically covering these buildings up to a certain level. And the story goes is we recreated these buildings and we used them ourselves and we claimed to build them, even though a civilization years before us was already here that had created all of this stuff and had access to free energy.
Yep.
So when you think about Tartaria crew, what's the number one thing you think about?
Okay, so I mentioned it before when we did the Kansas City episode. Those copper balls on the
Oh
top of
yes,
the building.
the mercury filled balls that are on top of the churches.
Mm-hmm.
They're also
And
on
then
cathedrals, and they're in some other public buildings across Europe and North America.
another one that also I think of is the bells.
Yeah, so we actually talked about this a little bit yesterday, I believe, or yeah, I think it was yesterday. But basically the bells. I found out something very interesting today about the bells. Did you know that most of the great bells were removed and stolen by the Nazis? Did you know that the Nazis claimed that they used them for ammunition? They melted the bells down and used them for ammunition. But then, for some reason, all across Europe, we have now stumbled and found giant bell graveyards. Yards basically with buried bells in the ground all over the place.
Hmm.
Bellingrad, Germany, a literal place. Like it's not actually called Bellingrad, but they call it Bellingrad because of how many bells are located at this little area. And basically, it's hundreds of bells stacked upon each other, like underground, that the
Oh wow.
Nazis all buried there for whatever reason. But the Nazis lied to everybody and claimed that they melted the bells down. So why did they hide them?
Right.
Well, I'll tell you why. I can tell you why. Because bells, specifically cathedral and church bells, just those really big bells that they used to have, which by the way, they do not have the same bells anymore. The bells now, most of them are they're only half the size of what they used to be. They're only half the size of what they used to be. And the reason why is those giant bells, when they rang, they the whole community could feel the vibration from the bell, okay? It emitted a healing frequency. These bells actually healed our cells and our bodies. It is why people lived longer. It was also why there was almost no cases of like cancer or even things like because HIV is fairly new. You know what I mean? It's not a disease that's been around forever. It's fairly freaking new. So you have to think that these healing bells, these frequencies, warded off a lot of this disease and a lot of this horrible stuff that was happening because of that frequency, if it's true. That's all alleged. The bells thing is alleged. I've never been around a giant bell. I've never felt the vibration or the frequency come from the bell, but I know there is some truth to that. The bell definitely rings and vibrates on a frequency. But
We
that's why
have we have a comment here from Joshua asking if we have searched Bel Air.
where at? Like what's like I don't know where Bel Air's at. Is that like here in the States or is that across like across the world in Europe? Um Bel Air just makes me think about the Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
Right.
But with the bells, man, it's absolutely there's something going on there. It's absolutely being covered up for one reason or another. And healing frequency would make sense because then certain commodities around the world could not make money off of us consistently dying.
LMAO, think Fresh Prince. LMAO.
I mean, Philadelphia, if that's where Bel Air is, and I don't know. I've never gone to Philly. I've never searched Philadelphia stuff. I know there's a lot of older looking buildings in Philly and also in basically all around DC. So you have
Bel
the
Air's in
Roman arch.
California.
What?
Bel Air's in California.
Oh, in California. Okay.
Yeah.
California. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure there's Tartarian buildings in California. There's got to be. They're everywhere else. Did California have a World's Fair ever?
Don't know. I know Chicago has.
Yeah, no, Chicago did have a World's Fair, and so did oh my god. I know we may have even had one here in maybe not KC, but like St. Louis. Like St. Louis had a World's Fair, I'm pretty sure. But
Well,
the World's Fair, supposedly, you know, a lot of buildings got burned down and a lot of buildings got destroyed for absolutely no reason. And they claimed that the buildings were made out of plaster and styrofoam, and it only took a year to make. But these buildings were extravagant and they didn't look like they were, like, there was way too much detail for them to be literal plaster bricks. Like, come on now. And then the claim that they burned down, how does a whole building made of concrete burn down? Make that make sense.
Right.
So there's a lot of weird things about old architecture. The main thing is how in the times of the Wild Wild West, when we were told they were using horse and buggy and they all basically grew up in shacks and lived inside little farmhouses and things like that, and the banks were outdated, like the banks for their time were literally just a one room with a cage and a vault, and then across the street, you had Roman architecture literally across the street during Wild West time period. And they try to claim that the Wild West people built that. Get the fuck out of here. No, they didn't.
Kevin said, um, for sure, the whole timeline doesn't add up. And then Joshua goes, why do they call beautiful women in Italian Bella?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not Italian. No, yeah, for sure, Kevin. The timeline, the timeline doesn't add up. It's never added up. There seems to be some kind of civilization, if not multiple civilizations, that were way before us, way before our time period. And these buildings that they claim were made in a couple of years, some of them for the time period would have taken 100 years to build. Straight up, 100 years to build. If they didn't have our modern technology that we have now, like cranes and all this other stuff, it would have taken 100 years to build that. But they built it in 3 years. Make that make sense. By some
Right.
random architect that either A, they pick a random architect with a random name and they're like, yeah, this is who did it, or they basically just go, we don't know who made it, but we know it was made in this timeline at this time period, and it only took this long because we have records of the building actually being built, but we can't tell you who the architect was. What? You can't tell me who the architect was who built some of the most famous monuments in the world? And then some of the monuments you're going to tell me are made by the same exact person who made them out in Italy, also in different parts of Europe and Spain and Portugal and all these different monuments in these different places. You're going to tell me one guy built all those? Okay. No. So also with the mud flood theory, we have had certain places that have been dug out and dug out recently where we find more to a building than there should be.
Yep.
And parts of these buildings have windows and doors that are underground. Doors that if you were to open would open to a giant pile of dirt because it's all underground. And one of those buildings allegedly, because I can't prove it and I can't tell you if the photos are real or not, but apparently when they dug out the Capitol building, and yes, there are photos of that, the Capitol building. And we're talking like most state capitol buildings look like what?
Romanesque.
Yeah, they look Roman as shit. And all around the world, we have Roman architecture in places that just don't make sense. Kevin says, "Oh, undiscovered bunker in San Francisco Bridge, but didn't they build it? Shouldn't they have known it was there?" Yeah, right, right.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. They're gonna be like, "Well, we just found this. We didn't know it was there." Well, that's when you find out that you have New York, which right now you have the whole city of New York is literally sitting on top of another city below it, which is old New York. And right below there, you have another city that is literally underneath that New York. And we know this because we have record of it. Why are we building cities on top of cities on top of cities? Unless you're trying to hide something.
Kind of like that whole thing that we talked about yesterday of where the was it 200
Yeah,
trillion
something like
dollars
that.
to build an underground city with oh god
Well, the Bush, it was a lady who worked for the Bush administration. She was secretary of something or another. She was some secretary, and I don't honestly know what she did. She was some secretary thing, but she came out on Tucker Carlson and she made the claim that during the Bush administration they spent $22.7 trillion to build underground cities all over America. But the biggest one specifically was Washington D.C. She talks about the underground city that was built directly underneath Washington for the rich and famous. So if there was ever an extinction event, like a world-ending party crasher comes crashing through the firmament and destroys everything, they would be able to go underground and they wouldn't have to worry about anything. But now that
right.
that's being blown up, um, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more people that are going to research that topic, and a lot more people are going to come out, and we're going to start seeing a lot more videos of the underground city. Um, we're already starting to see them on TikTok. Oh
I
yeah,
haven't even
Kevin,
come
they
across
have been
them on
prepping for
TikTok.
a very long time. Oh, you have a theory, brother? I mean, if you've got a theory, let me know. Post it in the comments. Um, with the underground city, though, have you seen the uh, the post office video?
I haven't seen anything on TikTok yet, man. I've been looking.
Well, the post office video didn't air first on TikTok. It ended up being shown, I believe, on Reddit at first, and
Mm.
it's a lady that goes into the underground city and she finds a post office. Like she just starts driving through this tunnel that it becomes like it's inside of a cave system, and she finds a United States post office with like parking spots and a whole facility. Like she can walk in there and send mail if she wanted to. And she didn't understand why there was a post office underground. And then, she's just talking about it or whatever. That got posted on Reddit and then it made the rounds on TikTok recently. There's another video of a guy who talks about going into the underground cities in around LA actually. There's a whole bunch under California, I guess, which I think is stupid because eventually that'll break off, right? California's supposed to like go off into the sea. At least that's what I've always heard. But
What I've heard recently for the Doomsday map that it's going to be underwater
yeah, that's what I'm
and
saying. It's supposed to go out to the ocean and sink. Yeah.
only a small portion is going to be above water.
But the underground city in LA or whatever apparently has McDonald's, it's got Starbucks, it's got hotels, it has multiple movie theaters, it has all different kinds of stuff. Josh says the underground mail road. Yeah, basically. A lot of the truckers use use the underground highways. The underground highways are known. Those are cave systems that the United States government turned into highways for basically if anything were to ever happen to the president or something was happening in DC, the president has to have a way to go underground and be able to get anywhere that he needs to be in America via the underground highways. So that's why they were created. We don't hear a lot about the underground highways because it's just they don't like talking about them, but they're all known. We actually have an entrance to the underground highways here in Independence. They make it look like a cold storage unit.
Right.
That's been known for a while. They which there is a cold storage place there. Don't get me wrong. There are multiple cold storage caves, but there's a big one over there that is not a cold storage cave. It is it's there to look like one.
Exactly.
Um, so let's get back to Tartaria. So with the underground, basically when they dig those buildings out, there's a lot more building to the building that they knew of, and the photos are absolutely miraculous. Like you've seen them, right? The Capitol buildings that are dug out.
Mm-mm.
Oh my god, let me see. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up real quick for us. But what your like things that you wonder about Tartaria?
I mean, everything about it, man. Like it's a big topic, and to find out that the Terra Infinita has a connection with Tartaria, pretty cool.
Right? It's, so let me see if I find a good photo. There's several here, but some of them I don't know if they're real or not. Here's the famous one, the famous picture that made the rounds,
Kevin said, "What
because
if
this is a real photo.
Tartarian?"
Like I know for a fact.
Right. Kevin said, "What if Tartarians had future seeing tech? They could have seen an unchangeable extinction level event. A group of people made plans to gain resources and prep, but keep it within this group a secret. What if this whole time we all have been used while the elite prep? Sorry, poorly explained. Typing, not talking."
No, it's not poorly explained. It does make sense. It for sure makes sense. I've thought about that exact thing myself. Actually, is that so I have my own little theory behind Tartaria, and what it is I think Tartaria was a little season, and what the little season is basically God brought Christ back from the dead, and Christ reigned earth for 1,000 years. Christians in today's world believe that that's going to happen and that it hasn't already happened. Um, I like to beg to differ here. If we read the Bible, Christ tells the apostles and all of his followers that they will live to see him return and reign as king. He straight tells all of them, you really think that he was talking about 2,000 years later? I don't. I think Christ reigned then. It was his 1,000 year reign. The people that followed Christ built all of those buildings. They did all of that stuff. And then after the 1,000 years, God told everybody, okay, I'm releasing Satan now, and he's going to have his little season just supposed to be 1,000 years of a reign of Satan. Okay, and it would make a lot of sense because look at all of the crazy shit that happens on a daily basis here. It's basically chaos. It's just constant chaos. So, but with the little season, the devil only gets to rule for 1,000 years, and it's a test. It's a test for humans. It's so if God needs to see if he needs to do another reset or not, if he needs to flood the freaking earth again. I basically think that's probably what happened in Tartaria too, is a reset occurred. Bad stuff happened and a reset occurred.
Okay, so Joshua goes, let's get back to bells. Do you think that's why they cracked the Liberty Bell? Question mark. And then Kevin goes, I read a thing that basically laid it out that he already came back. And then Kevin also said, worse than chaos limbo.
Yeah. Okay, Josh, like back to the Bell subject. Okay, the Liberty Bell, I don't know what the Liberty Bell's significance to Tartaria would be because the Liberty Bell was a symbol was a symbol for liberty in America. And the reason they cracked it, to my knowledge, and I don't know a lot about the Liberty Bell, so don't quote me on this at all. To my knowledge, it was cracked because it basically started to degrade because it got old and it was left where it was. And they used it as a symbol in government for like you can't let liberty crack. Like liberty has to be lit. Like you have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's just they use the Liberty Bell as a symbol. It's like one of the most famous symbols in the entire world. Could it be a Tartarian bell? For sure. For sure, it could be. It's the same size as a Tartarian bell.
Yeah.
Oh, bells. Yes, Kevin, I was just talking about this. The bells and the frequency with the bell, it's healing frequency. And the Nazis knew that. Okay. The Nazis were very big into the occult. The Nazis realized that the bells had healing frequencies. The Nazis then went around Europe and confiscated all of the European Tartarian bells, the bells that were gigantic church bells, the bells that hung on cathedrals, the only bells that are left that are Tartarian are literally at the Vatican. Those are the only ones that are left. And the Vatican kept those. Oh, trust me, they kept those. They wanted those there because it heals all of their people, all of the good Catholics and churchgoers that go there every day when they hear that bell ring at 12 or whatever. It's basically a healing frequency going out to the Vatican, allegedly. All right, so I do know that we got some videos to play tonight, right?
Yes, we do.
I think we should start the videos.
What if history is a lie and the Tartaria mud flood is proof? The mud flood theory claims a global disaster buried entire cities, wiping out the Tartarian civilization. Then history was rewritten to erase them. Why? Because Tartarians allegedly harness free energy, pulling power from the atmosphere through advanced architecture. A world with free energy meant no control through oil, gas, or electric monopolies. The elite couldn't allow that, so they erased Tartaria from history. The evidence? Buried buildings, underground windows, and grand structures that seemed too advanced for their time, many appearing centuries older than official records claim. If the mud flood really happened, then everything we've been told about history is a lie. So the real question is, what else have they covered up?
We were just talking about the buildings.
Yep.
And if they can cover up those buildings and really make people believe that they built those, even though the timelines don't match up, and anybody with a fucking brain can look it up and realize for themselves.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Imagine what else they can hide.
Just a little video of this. Abraham Lincoln's tomb. He's buried like down there. But anyway, looking at these artifacts, it looks like they're discovering Abraham Lincoln's tomb. And this is like a piece of the actual thing. And it's more like an archaeological find than, oh, this is Abraham Lincoln, one of the presidents that died. And it's just really, 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 really weird. And then I look behind, and the dates are the same dates as the reset. And then another thing is, there are Abraham Lincoln statues not only in America, but in Mexico and other places of the earth. So maybe he was some sort of Tartarian ruler. Who knows?
Let's see here. Okay. Kevin said invade the Vatican, wink. Okay. He also said I saw something frequency related that could basically liquefy the ground. Artificial mud flood.
Yeah, so we all know of a place, at least most of us should if we're if we're into the conspiracy world. And that place is called HARP. HARP is supposedly a radio station. I forget, HARP's not in Antarctica. HARP's in Alaska. HARP is supposedly in Alaska, and it's a giant field of these radio towers and microwave transistors, or whatever they're called. But basically, it was owned, I believe, originally by the Navy, and the Navy was like, "Oh yeah, we shut HARP down back in the 90s." And the government was like, "Okay, sure. That's fine. You shut HARP down." We come to find out that HARP has not been shut down. HARP has been running since they built it, and HARP can allegedly create earthquakes, tornadoes, tsunamis, and hurricanes. So HARP is just a giant radio wave frequency place that shoots out frequencies into the atmosphere. And those frequencies somehow create weather. I don't totally understand how it works, but I'm not a fucking scientist. You know what I mean? I haven't looked all the way into HARP. HARP is one of those old school conspiracies, though. HARP was going around way before any of this older stuff, or sorry, any of the newer stuff, like the Inside Job, allegedly in 9/11, and then the no moon landing, all of that stuff in Tartaria. Like that's even before. Like I'm sure it's not before Tartaria because there's a lot of weird things that mention Tartaria, like even going all the way back to like 1587. Or sorry, 1547, not 1587.
Right.
So yeah, Tartaria is a weird one. But yeah, no, HARP is an old school one. And a crazy thing about HARP, guys, is there's a HARP station literally on almost every continent in the world.
Kevin said they don't like to talk about it because it could be seen as a legit weapon.
Yeah, it's weather warfare. And they deny it. They deny it, okay? They literally deny doing it. But if you go to different government patent, like where to retrieve government patents, there's a website for it. Type in weather modification and geoengineering, and you will literally find all of the patents they have on creating hurricanes. And they've been working on it since the 70s. Okay, like it's it's not a new theory. It's not a new concept. They've probably been working on it even longer than the 70s. If you can control the weather, you can control the world. You
Oh
literally
yeah.
can. You can starve people. You can literally take water away from an entire part of the world. And humans can't live off salt water, homie. It'll kill you. It'll dehydrate you unless you figure out a way how to siphon out all the salt, which there are some machines to do it, but it would take thousands and thousands of hours to get water to an entire, like, say, just a village, man. Like, you would have to have multiple pumps to get anywhere during the day. So, yeah, with if you can control the weather, that's game over.
Julie said, and now they're trying to dim the sun.
Have y'all heard about China's artificial sun? I need to know if y'all have heard about China's artificial sun.
I didn't hear about it until you recently talked about it, which I thought was like, oh wow.
Okay, so China is literally building an artificial sun. And what it will do is I don't know how they're going to raise it up into the sky, but it's been joked about forever that it was going to be a secondary sun. And now China's like, guess what, fuckers, we built it. And now they really did. They're releasing all these files on China's artificial sun. I can pull up some articles. Yeah, Kevin, they already built it. They already built it, man. They already built it. And America supposedly is working on holographic, some kind of holographic material to block out the sun. And I don't know how true that is. That's also alleged. I have no proof of that, but I've been told that. So, but it all goes back to Tartaria, like, because of free energy. Like you think these places, these giant military places are using power from our grid? Do you really think that? And what about these giant AI machines, man, that they say are going to take so much power that if we installed it into like the LA grid, LA wouldn't have a grid anymore. It would kill the grid. It would completely destroy everything because that computer is too intense.
Kevin said they're putting nanobull in the air.
Nanobull. What's that? I've never heard of that. I mean, I've heard about chemtrails. I can tell you that much. I can tell you that brontium, strontium, and aluminum and barium is sprayed on us on a daily basis. And a lot of those heavy metals have been known to give cancer. And that's not alleged anymore. That's factual. And I was called crazy for talking about chemtrails back in 2010. I pointed them out to everybody. I was like, dude, this isn't right. I've never seen this happen before. A normal plane, its trail dissipates in 2 seconds. Why are they gridding our sky? How are they doing this? Nanoparticles. Okay. Yeah, I believe that. They could probably even put them into like water too. Like little nanoparticles and nanobots to basically overrun the body. It's crazy, dude. And then you got people putting Neuralink in their fucking heads. You,
They came
you
out
know
with
it.
a new device.
Oh
I
no,
saw on
what they come out with?
TikTok a while back where you put it like right at your temple on either side,
Yeah,
and your eyes will go gray, and you'll literally lean back like this, and you can literally Um, I'll have to find it back on TikTok again so I can show it to you. We
Better
can
not
play
be
with
one of
it.
the stupid AI videos. I swear to
No,
God.
no, it's not. It's not. It was showing like real people having it on their head, right? Like their temples, right?
Right.
And they were explaining that you could see alternate realities of yourself. You could
Oh,
play.
Kevin. Oh, Kevin. I know. I know. I probably have them in my body already. Same thing with crew, and same thing with anybody and everybody that's ever drinking tap water or breathed air out here, or
But
eaten food from Walmart.
like you could also like play different games. You can like uh it could like make you smarter. It can make like help like you play video games or whatever in your head.
Yeah.
And like but they said there's some side effects like uh if you take
Well,
it
of
off you'll
course.
start hearing voices to tell you to keep it on.
Yeah, of course. Because once you go too far into the augmented reality and the AI worlds, you're literally making yourself like two separate people. You're going to be one person outside of that world and you're going to be another person inside of that world. And that's coming very soon. Watch Sabrina Williams. I haven't I don't know if I have or not. Maybe. If she's on TikTok, probably. If she's not, then I don't know. Maybe YouTube channels. Watch a lot of stuff. I don't remember names. You can send me those links though, Kevin. I would gladly love to check those videos out. All right, let's hit this next video.
Is the government hiding?
What happened?
Is the government hiding an entire civilization from us? The Tartarians were said to be a civilization that unlocked the key to free energy, allowing the Tartarians to advance exponentially, as citizens were allowed to express their creativity freely, without the stress of work, leading to many great inventions and grand architecture. However, a powerful organization that controlled the world through the cell of energy had already invested heavily into energy production and lobbied against Tartaria, as free energy will essentially take away all the control that they had. This organization tore Tartaria apart and erased them from our history books, making it seem like Tartaria never existed. But if you look carefully, the evidence of Tartaria is still there, in old maps, in architecture around the world that seemed to advance, places like the Taj Mahal, the Great Wall of China, or even the pyramids in Egypt looked way too advanced to have been built by their respective nations, but collectively, all have similar themes in their design, similar themes aimed at harvesting energy. So,
Yeah, the basically that's everything I've ever said about Tartaria in one video.
Yeah.
Do you shit ham sandwiches part 1? I'm pretty sure I've actually heard of that. I'll check that out. Oh my god, I know. Oh, Kevin, I love you right now. You are so into Tartaria and you know your shit and that is awesome. Yes. Gothic style chapels still spark from the mercury balls on occasion. And it is insane. We have video footage of it and it's wonderful. I've seen those videos and a couple people like I thought originally I was like, "Oh my god, is that AI?" But then when you go throughout history, there are videos taken all the way from the 90s of Gothic chapels with the mercury balls freaking fizzing, and the governments always said it was a lightning rod, and that was static electricity and lightning being reflected back to the to the atmosphere, which is bunch of bullshit because we all know that's not how lightning rod works.
Right.
Right, crew?
Exactly.
That's not how a lightning rod works. Yeah, well, actually, here in America, yes, you're correct. Most have been damaged, and they've been removed completely, or they or they've been filled, and I've seen it where they're filled in with like cement or like copper maybe, or maybe gold even. But like we've seen the churches too, crew. We've been down there together where there's an older church or whatever, and you see that ball thing up there, but it's been either A, it's been removed, or B, it's now a solid object that just doesn't look like it should.
Right.
There's a church in North KC that had one for a long time because I remember asking my mom multiple times what it was. And then they removed it and they put a Jesus statue at the very top where that used to be. And that's been there for a while. It's sad that they damaged that Tartarian architecture, but we all know why. Because they won't get rich if free energy is real. If free energy is real, which I believe it to be, because Nikola Tesla got way too far with what he was doing and he claimed free energy, and copper can do amazing things, guys. I can't go into it, but copper and copper poles and copper wire can do amazing things. Basically, free energy is all around us. There's a thing called the aether, which got written out of science a while back. The ether or aether, whatever you want to call it, that thing, that was where the free energy resided. And you had to be able to pull that energy from the ether. And that was the only way to get that ether and that energy. And they had to use mercury in those balls, supposedly, to the mercury would spin in the ball, and that giant thing was usually a copper rod connected to the mercury ball, which would shoot that energy down toward through other copper rods that were throughout the building. Which basically they had lights and electricity when they shouldn't have. And we're starting to see that all over the world, that there was electricity before Thomas Edison.
Kevin said Sabrina talks about that a lot.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like that stuff is so cool. I'm so sad that they destroyed that technology. But let's get on to the next bit.
They've been hiding the true answer to this question from us. Why are these doors and windows halfway in the ground? During the early 19th century, strange events were reported worldwide. Cities were being dug out from layers of mud and debris. Buildings were being revealed that were covered to their rooftops in mud. A global cataclysmic event buried entire civilizations, erasing them from history. But here is where it gets rather unsettling. The Tartarian Empire, an empire often depicted in old maps, was an advanced civilization that existed across Europe and Asia. They built architectural marvels, had access to advanced technology, and were able to harness energy from the atmos. The mud flood, many say, was a deliberate attempt to wipe out Tartaria from history, hiding their advanced technology and knowledge. But it gets even darker. Look at the world's fairs of the late 1800s and early 1900s. These elaborate buildings, resembling ancient architecture, were supposedly built in just a few years. After the fairs, they were supposedly demolished. Was this to erase evidence of an advanced pre-existing civilization? The Chicago World Fair in 1893, the Paris Exposition in 1900, and the St. Louis World Fair in 1904. These events showcased magnificent architecture, and on official papers they were apparently built with plaster and wood. Do these look like temporary structures to you? The sudden disappearance of these architectural marvels raises the question, were they remnants of the Tartarian Empire, conveniently disguised as temporary exhibits and then destroyed to hide their origins?
Did you see Chicago, man?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see what Chicago looked like?
Mm-hmm.
It was beautiful. All those buildings and the water with the giant like statue of Julius Caesar or whoever that is. Yeah, that's all gone now. All of those buildings are gone.
Yep.
It's so sad. Obelisks are absolutely everywhere. You're right. Yeah, the obelisks, Kevin. They're absolutely everywhere too. Fun fact about Egyptian obelisks. There is an actual Egyptian obelisk that was stolen and put in the middle of London. It's literally a statue in the middle of London, and Egypt has asked for it back on multiple occasions, and they're like, "Nah, fuck you," and they keep it. Like, I'm pretty sure it's London. Look that up, crew. Make sure I'm telling the truth. It's a stolen obelisk from Egypt that's in London, in the middle of like London Square. I think I could be wrong, but dude, the obelisks are everywhere. Tartarian concept, maybe, but I'm thinking more like magic ritualism, which is also used a lot in this kind of practice, I guess you could say. The government nowadays likes to build their buildings in certain ways that resemble certain symbols or certain objects or certain things that are very symbolic and definitely mean something to them religiously. So it's obviously a ritual making that building, such as the Denver airport.
All right, give me 1 second. I'm gonna look it up real quick. All right, what was it again? You wanted me to look up?
If the Egyptian obelisk that's in the middle of London, Egyptian obelisk in the middle of London. Just tell me if I'm right about that. It's not going to tell you if it's stolen or not, but it is. It's 100% stolen. It's a real Egyptian obelisk. I don't know why they put it in the city like that. Or wait a minute, is it? It might be in that. It might be in the Vatican.
Cleopatra's Needle, London.
Oh, it is in London. It is in London. I'm right. Holy shit, I'm right. Okay, yeah. That's so
Okay, this
crazy.
is
The
what I'm gonna read what this
anti-Tartarian.
says real quick.
Do
The
you ever wonder if like maybe Genghis Khan um was either fighting for or against the Tartarians?
I don't know, but
Yeah, they do
okay,
have an obelisk in New York's park, I'm pretty sure. That they claim to be a piece of art though. I don't think they claim that to be an actual Egyptian obelisk, but it's supposed to resemble an Egyptian obelisk. I'm looking it up right now. Because that
okay,
stuff hella interests me. Because I follow Anubis. So the obelisk in New York City is also known as Cleopatra's Needle. It's an ancient Egyptian monument located in Central Park. So wait a minute. Is it located in London or in New York Central Park? Because that's the same freaking obelisk. Holy shit. Is that a Mandela effect? This
okay,
is the obelisk I was talking about. It's in New York. It's not in London, it's in New York.
okay. Hold on. I'm reading this right here.
I am mind fucked right now. Kevin, you mind
Okay,
fucked me.
how Cleopatra's Needle came to London on the Thames
Oh, crew
embankment.
coming for him. They're gonna get you, crew.
Yeah, no. Anyway, this is what it says. Key location: Thames Embankment, City of Westminster. Key
Yeah,
dates:
Westminster.
1878. All right,
So did we steal it from them?
hold on. I'm gonna. This is. I pulled up the London Museum website. How Cleopatra's Needle came to London. On the Thames embankment, flanked by two giant brass sphinx, you'll find something quite unusual: an ancient Egyptian monument shipped to London in the 1870s. One of the oldest monuments in London, Cleopatra's Needle, is an almost 3,500-year-old granite obelisk.
Uh-huh.
It was made in Egypt, given to Britain as a gift, and now overlooks the river Thames.
That's what they always say.
Right.
That's what they always say. It was given as a gift. Bullshit. You fucking stole it.
On London's Thames embankment. Obelisks are tall, tapered, four-sided monuments which were built in pairs for the entrances of ancient temples. This one in Westminster was carved with dedications to different gods, along with symbols representing the pharaoh Thutmose the
Yeah,
Third.
Thutmose the Third. It's the
It,
same obelisk.
yeah,
It's the
it was
exact same obelisk.
right. It was originally made around 500 BCE in Heliopolis, modern day Cairo.
Oh, I'm sure it
Before
did have to do with the Masons, bro. You were right 100%, Kevin.
before
Freemasons
being
are behind
moved
everything, allegedly.
before being moved to Alexandria, a coastal city associated with the ancient queen Cleopatra around 12 BCE. After a long, treacherous journey at sea, the obelisk was finally erected in Westminster on 12 September 1878. Its
It was
pair
erected.
is in, dude, it's a pair.
It's a pair.
Mhm. Its pair is in Central Park in New York City.
That is such a mind fuck. Why are there two of the same obelisks?
Okay, here's what it says. Why is Cleopatra's Needle in London? The obelisk was given to the British government in
Right, as a
1819
gift.
by the ruler of Egypt, Muhammad
Right.
Ali.
Muhammad Ali, is that really his name?
Uh-huh. It was
Oh
a
my
gift.
god, that's hilarious.
It was a gift to mark two British military victories in Egypt against French revolutionary leader Napoleon Bonaparte. The Battle of the Nile in 1798, led by Admiral Horatio Nelson, and the Battle of Alexandria in 1801, led by Ralph Abercrombie.
Abercrombie. Oh my
But
god,
shipping
these
this
names.
massive stone monument to London required some creative thinking. It was 18 meters high and weighed over 180,000 kilometers,
Tons. Or wait,
about
what? You said
kg,
kilograms.
kilograms. Yeah, I meant to say kilograms. Sorry, about as heavy as a blue whale.
Jesus. And how'd they
How
ship it over here?
how was the obelisk transported to Britain? The solution arrived 60 years later in the form of a specially designed iron cylinder named the Cleopatra. It had a mast, rudder, and steering gear which were operated by a crew of sailors, but it had to be towed by another steamship, the Olga. Both ships set off from Alexandria on 21st September of 1877. Disaster struck a few weeks into the journey. During a storm off the French coast, the crew had to cut to- the tow ropes
I
connecting
spent
the
quite a I spent
Cle-
quite a while, Kevin, doing that. I research and plan my episode for at least 3 or 4 days. We had an entire week. This time we actually took off some nights, so we've had some time. And I've researched Tartaria for a very long time. So it's not like I was doing Tartaria way before I was even doing my own podcast.
But yeah, that's basically what
That's interesting. That completely mind fucks me that there's two of the exact same obelisks.
yeah.
So they were just built by the same people and they really were given as gifts, or I mean that's the only thing that really makes fucking sense, but I don't know. That's so weird. I did find out though there's 36 Eiffel Towers. Or 30 there's
One
either
in
36 or 34.
There's one in France. There's one
Uh-huh.
in America.
There's multiple in America.
Well, the
There's
only one
there's
I know of in America is the one in Las Vegas.
yeah. There's one in North Korea too, I think. As weird as that sounds. Yeah, there's replicas that exist in over 30 countries across 6 continents, ranging from amusement parks to shopping malls to standalone landmarks. They're often built to evoke Parisian charm, boost tourism, symbolize culture ties with France. Common locations include cities named Paris, theme parks, or commercial complexes. So basically, if you have a Paris, you probably have an Eiffel Tower. The number one in North America is being Las Vegas. We also have Paris, Texas. We also have Paris, Tennessee. We have Gomez Palacio, Mexico. Guatemala City, Guatemala. Kings Island, Ohio, USA. And then we have them in Tokyo, Japan. We got them in Hangzhou, China. Basically everywhere in the freaking world has an Eiffel Tower. And they're all supposedly just replicas, which I believe like some of them are, but some of them probably aren't. My cat is snoring, and it's the funniest thing in the entire world. I wish you guys could hear my cat snore. Okay, let's hit this video real quick.
So they've replaced the bells with cell phone towers. They say that the cell phone towers are safe, but there's been plenty of 1970s U.S. Navy documents and Department of Defense documents showing that they're not safe. When the bells ring, number one, they can deter a storm, which I thought was really interesting when I was researching. People ringing bells to get rid of the storms in Europe. And then also, too, they could heal and harmonize the surrounding land. And you could also ring a bell if there's a weirdo in the town. You know, you can ring the bell and make people aware that there's some strange people trying to invade your town. It kind of worked for different purposes. And the other reason, too, during World War II, a lot of the bells were destroyed. But I started to notice that that was after World War II that a lot of the bells were destroyed. And a lot of these pictures of those bells, they have language written on them. They have all these different languages that I've never seen before. The one was a combination of Spanish and Italian, and it was some old language. And I started thinking, oh, okay. So if you remove this, now people don't see these cultures or these people who also used to exist. So you get into bells, and it's a pretty remarkable one the more you go down it.
You could definitely say that. It's not like we just talked about bells for 20 minutes. It's crazy, man. The bells are crazy. Kevin said I watched a video of a guy in China talking about a whole Roman street and buildings being super out of place and not mapped. I haven't seen that one. I'll have to look that up. That sounds crazy though. I bet it's true though. There's literally Roman architecture in every freaking country and continent. It's absolutely insane.
There's a lot in Kansas City.
Oh yeah, tons. Let's just look at Union Station.
So they've replaced the bells with cell phones.
And then those buildings near Union Station, like across the street, the IRS building.
The federal buildings, they all look Romanesque, each and every one of them, and some of them I think are Romanesque. I think they were built and they were left there, and like we said, the cities just occupied them.
is I asked AI, what was the greatest empire? But I didn't make the map. Tartaria. I don't make this stuff up.
That's funny that the AI couldn't spell Tartaria correctly, but it threw up a place on there that looked like it said Tartaria.
Right.
That's crazy. That's cool.
This video is only hundreds of years old. We were so more advanced than what we think. History is a complete lie. They are covering up something. This is definitely some sort of anti-gravity technology used by the ancient Tartarians. History is his story. These videos are not just it. There are pictures of the ancients using advanced technology that we do not even use to this day. Why are we not told about this? And why is this not in our history books? This looks like some sort of spirit technology to see the other side, or some sort of hologram technology. What do you think?
I've seen those photos before of the spirits coming through the mirrors, and I really don't know what to say about it. Like, it's a weird one. It's definitely kind of paranormal, but like, they call mirrors portals. Like, they
Imagine
do
if we
call
had those
mirrors portals.
today.
All right. Yeah, the beetle wing frequency hovercraft. They're crazy. Crazy looking. Very, very crazy looking. The aircrafts and cars and things that they had electric vehicles back then. Can you believe that, dude? Electric vehicles.
They
Like,
supposedly had cell phones back in the day too.
I know I've heard all kinds of stuff. It's crazy.
The history you've been taught is all a big lie. Before the civilization we have today, there was another civilization that's been hidden from us. This civilization was far more advanced than us, but in a different way. They had harnessed the ability to use atmospheric energy. They incorporated it into all of their buildings and were able to create free energy for everyone at all times. They had also harnessed the power of frequencies and were able to build grand architecture by manipulating substances and moving huge rocks through vibration. Hence the Great Pyramids and many other unexplainable architectural anomalies that were created in the past. The free energy was a threat to the massive oil industry and all the profits they were able to generate from the scarcity of oil. So the owners of this industry, who were extremely powerful, created a plan to take out this civilization and wipe them from history so nobody would ever know about free energy. They destroyed all their architecture and technology. This civilization was called Tartaria.
I like that video, but I hate that they use Joe Rogan's voice because that's not Joe Rogan talking. I can tell that's an AI.
Yeah.
Dude, soul traps, Kevin. Have you heard about the soul trap on the moon? Like, that's a pretty intense one. Supposedly, the moon is just a giant soul trap.
Another building that makes no type of sense for the timeline we in. The state capital of Philadelphia. First of all, like, bro, why did you even have to build this skyf, this whatever it's called? Why did you even have to build that? It's already 3-4 stories. And of course, there's no construction photos of this building being started. Because why? They didn't build it. It took them 4 years to build this. 0 construction photos. But we could go on a limb and say, oh, they're in the archives. They haven't released them. Why? Half of them construction photos be looking CGI, some random dude sitting on a steel pillar 5,000 feet in the air, swinging their feet, eating a sandwich. That garbage ass shit. That's a fallacy, bro. Philadelphia was founded on October 27th, 1682. Founded in, mind you, 1682. That's before the Constitution. Who finding shit?
We were talking about that a while back.
We did, about how people just found things. Like, what? They discovered several levels beneath it, the cliff building. Oh man, that's interesting. I'm gonna look that up. The cliff building. Where's that located? I don't know. I haven't seen that. Cliff buildings. Yeah, so it's like Katuhoyuk in Turkey or Mesa Verde in the USA have revealed multiple layers of human habitation beneath cliffs or cliff adjacent structures, with carvings out showing excessive cultures or time periods. The city of Petra. Okay, that's good. City of Petra. We got some stuff from National Geographic, I guess. So the city of Petra in Jordan, give a context. The cliff-built city with layers below. Petra, located in southwest Jordan, is an ancient city established by the Nabatean people around the 4th century BCE, known as the Rose City for its pinkish sandstone cliffs. It served as the capital of the Nabatean kingdom, a major trade hub connecting Arabia, Egypt, the Mediterranean. Its iconic structures, like Al Khazden, the treasury, and Ad-Diar, the monastery, are carved directly into cliff faces, making it a prime example of a cliff-dwelling building city. They discovered recent tombs in 2024. The archaeologists found tombs beneath the treasury containing 12 complete skeletons and artifacts. The tomb was discovered using ground-penetrating radar, otherwise known as LiDAR. It's one of the largest collections of human remains found in Petra. It sheds light on the Nabatean burial practices. In 2003, 2 tombs were found with skeletons. There's a whole unexcavated city below it. Below Petra has been excavated, with an estimated 85% still underground, which includes a whole lot more dwellings, temples, graveyards, and probably more infrastructure buried under rubble or sediment, representing the Nabatean, Roman, Byzantine, and later periods. Holy shit. I didn't know anything about this, dude. That's crazy. Petra's earliest public structures are part of the layers beneath later developments. The architecture is carved into sandstone cliffs, which facades are facades like the treasury and tombs cut directly into the rock faces. Builders work top-down, chiseling intricate designs into the cliffs, as seen as in the unfinished tombs. I don't know, like the cliff. Do we really think they used hammer and chisel? Maybe.
I mean,
it does sound like they were highly sophisticated, though. So I think they
Yeah.
had probably better equipment than hammer and chisel.
Right.
All right, let's hit this next video real quick.
Taj Mahal India, 1648. St. Basil's Cathedral, Russia, 1561. Church of the Resurrection, Russia, 1652. Ubudaya Mosque, Malaysia, 1917. Taksim Military Barracks, Turkey, 1806. St. Maria Ramersdorf Church, Germany, 1792. St. Simeon of the Wonderful Mountain Church, Germany, 1874. Badshahi Mosque, Pakistan, 1672. Fuller Block, Springfield, USA, 1887.
Different Indian-esque buildings that shouldn't be in the places they're at, besides a couple of them. And the Taj Mahal, I mean, if you get into the building of the Taj Mahal, that is a very weird one because they claim it took a lot less than it should have taken for them to build it. Yeah, I can tell. I love the. I love deep diving down a rabbit hole though, especially with Tartaria or these ancient cities like Göbekli Tepe and even mythical places like Atlantis and El Dorado. Like getting into these, like they're starting to seem like they're not so mythical. Like we just haven't found them yet. They're there. We just haven't found them. And Atlantis, we actually have some very good photos of a place that match the exact description, and it's been completely flooded out and waterlogged. So they think they may have found Atlantis. Which that's crazy.
When was this?
This is not a church.
So if it was literally released on a Joe Rogan podcast. He had a guest on who found it. Let's see. Atlantis being off the coast of Africa with alleged proof. Let me see if I can find. Yeah, the Rickshat structure is a eroded magma dome, not an impact crater or a man-made site. There's no evidence of a catastrophic flood 2,000 years ago in this region, and the Sahara's desertification is a gradual process over millennia, not a sudden event. But if you look at the structure, and you actually look at this structure, it is exactly described as how Atlantis is described.
Are you talking about
And
in the Sahara Desert, the one I kept saying that
yes,
was?
yeah,
Okay,
the
so
one
I
that
was right this
resembles it.
entire time.
Yeah, the Eye of Sahara, exactly, and Atlantis. There's so much stuff in the bottom of the ocean, man. There's so much stuff in the bottom of the ocean. We're talking statues, obelisks, ancient history, all down there because the ocean swallows everything.
I came across something that changed everything. The Tartarian.
Oh, sorry, we already saw that.
Tartarian architecture.
Some of those I'm sure are real photos, but I don't know how many of those are real photos. Some of those definitely could be AI photos or AI generated photos, but either way, that kind of architecture is so beautiful. And if we really did know how to do that, the fact that we ever stopped is a disgrace.
Yeah.
So I just stopped at the Goodwill and I found this map. It's a pretty sweet map. It says it's a map of Europe. But what does this say? Or what does that say right there? Okay.
Literally got Tartaria on that map. It literally has Tartaria as a marked territory on that map.
Yep.
You can see the people are walking around on something that's absolutely remarkable. I mean, look at that. This is Buffalo, New York, 1901. You know, just stunning architecture. And this all has a frequency. You know, we've talked a lot about this with frequency, resonance, fractals, all of these materials, you know, all the copper that was used. Every statue on top of these buildings had copper. Every angel on top of these buildings had copper. You know, and then you start to wonder, well, copper's only 1% of the soil. Where were they getting it all from? So Buffalo, New York, look at that fountain right there, you know, right in the middle. Just, you know, keeping the water intact. And then this is New York, Buffalo, New York, 1901. You know, this was the sustainable buildings that people were, you know, temporarily building. That's what they were telling us. You got right there, there's more water. And see how the society who was building these, because I don't believe that, you know, they were horse and wagon time at that time, but the society who was building this, look at how much they cherished water. I mean, there's so much water and fountains and all of this. And then you go to the next one, which you have a Coliseum in Buffalo, New York. You know, a picture I don't think many people have seen, which is interesting. You know, you have this, and that can be energy.
Is this the World's Fair?
This is the World's Fair,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
This is the picture, and then let me just...
And why would we ever destroy something so beautiful?
Right.
Oh, I'll tell you why. Because it was for show and we built it in 2 days. Because that's what they said about the World's Fair. We built all of that stuff in 2 days and we destroyed it on purpose because we didn't know how else to get rid of it. Bullshit. That stuff is so beautiful and you can't just... I don't believe they just cut that stuff out of plaster. Get out of here. Kevin says he doesn't know what the Star Wars city of Naboo was based on, but that's a super pretty real palace or something. Yeah, I'm sure, like, if it is a real palace, that's a beautiful, beautiful place. Yeah, the fires of San Francisco was started by a cow. Yeah, yeah, uh-huh. I believe that's the formal story for sure, but that's entirely bullshit. The fires are always... That's the one that like blows me away though, is the fires. Like something else was going on during the fires because fires don't burn down marble and concrete buildings or sandstone or anything for that matter. Fire won't burn that down. It might turn it a little black. It's not going to burn it down. So maybe those were plaster. I don't know. I don't think so though. But it's always a possibility.
You're trying to tell me that the civilization that constructed this beauty is less advanced than the civilization we live now? Like, you're seriously going to try and convince me that we live in an advanced civilization? Ain't nobody convincing me that our civilization is advanced. Just look at Poland, then, and now. What about the Netherlands, then, and now? You know, like the power of the internet, it's always been here. You're trying to tell me that this type of civilization that constructs such beauty and etiquette towards their architectural designs didn't have advancing technology. You know, in the start of the 1900s, they literally took the ether out of the periodic table. But obviously, this was all just for entertainment, guys. I'm as fictional as a dinosaur, baby.
So that's what I was telling you about the ether. They literally took it out. They got rid of it. Science was like, it doesn't exist. Then why did you have it in the first place?
That part.
All of these buildings all around here, as I told in class last night, they're ours. They belong to us. They're ancient, these buildings. There's a whole city underneath this city. They went and burned all the major cities, the major energy centers. Our ancestors set up these energy centers that we call Philadelphia, New York, Boston, Atlanta, Detroit, right? Chicago, Miami, Los Angeles. They are energy centers. They're not where they are in huge, large cities just because of some coincidence. There's energy and power in these places. London, Rio de Janeiro.
So, are they trying to say that the Sistine Chapel is Tartarian?
Apparently.
That's crazy. If everything we knew about history was just that, a story.
Right.
Listen well now, child of the veil, for I shall tell you of a forgetting so vast, it stitched new seams into the fabric of your world. There was once a great empire, one not born of conquest but of resonance, of harmony with the forces hidden beneath reality itself. You call it Tartaria. It was a civilization of engineers, dreamers and architects of the impossible. They harnessed frequencies, energies, forces forgotten by your modern minds. Their cities rose not through brute labor, but through the understanding of the subtle laws that bind existence. Their spires hummed with sacred geometry. Their towers channeled the heartbeat of the earth itself. And it was this very brilliance that made them dangerous. You see, my dear wanderer, the veil-born do not erase out of hatred, they erase out of necessity. Tartaria posed a threat not to nations. It posed a threat to the very structure of the hidden thread. Had the Tartarians succeeded in revealing their true sciences to the world, had humanity learned to bend the underlying codes of creation, the veil between realities would have torn open. Not decades from now, not centuries from now, but then, too soon. Far too soon. The timeline was not yet ready. The consciousness of mankind was still too young, too volatile. Tartaria's secrets in the wrong hands would have birthed calamities far greater than any mere war or empire's fall. And so the Veilborn intervened. Quietly, precisely, relentlessly. They collapsed the Tartarian grid. Weather wars, floods, engineered disasters. The resonant towers fell. The knowledge was shattered and scattered into myth. And what could not be destroyed was rewritten, hidden in plain sight, called antiquity, dismissed as coincidence, buried beneath false histories. But how do we know, you ask? The signs are still there. Buildings with no builders, architectures of impossible scale, maps forgotten then mysteriously found, showing cities you were told never existed, symbols that hum when studied too closely, anomalies that even the Veilborn couldn't entirely erase. The echoes of Tartaria refuse to die because some truths are stubborn. Some seeds once planted bloom in secret, and now the wheel turns once more. The forbidden frequencies are stirring.
That's interesting. Explaining how or why Tartaria was taken out. That's a really interesting way to look at it, because I think that is definitely true. Like the oil companies and the energy companies would not be where they are at today if energy was free.
Right.
They just wouldn't be able to be. Now, I think we are going to have to make another part to this, because we are coming up on the hour and 30-minute mark. So thank you all so much for tuning in tonight, watching the Robert and Crew Show. We enjoy talking about these different conspiracy theories like Tartaria. We also go into different European places. We podcast just about anything that's on our minds. It's what we enjoy. So if you enjoy watching our episodes and following us, thank you, and we very much appreciate it. Much love from the Robert and Crew Show, guys. Peace.
If you don't like boring news but still crave the truth, then dive into The Robert and Crew Show. From mind-bending conspiracy theories to wild weather phenomena, we've got it all. Ever wondered what's really happening in your hometown, or what secrets the global news isn't telling you? We dig deep into the core of every story, unraveling the mysteries one podcast at a time. Join Robert and the crew as we navigate this vibrant, ever-changing cyberpunk landscape, bringing you interviews with the most intriguing minds out there. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, a news junkie or a weather enthusiast, there's something here for you. So strap in, listeners, because we're about to take you on a ride through the neon-lit alleys of truth and intrigue. This is the Robert and Crew Show, where the future meets the fantastic.